Hello and welcome to the fourth lecture of this online training module on foundational education leadership for early childhood care and education. Today what we are going to learn and understand about is the purpose of the foundational education stage. Having deliberated on the core aspects of what education leadership is all about, what are the facets of education leaders and what they are supposed to do, and understanding that the education system needs to shy away from the general intelligence framework to a multiple intelligence kind of a framework is very important, that we have already done. We have already also understood what are the various stages in the education cycle, so that people and students do not only extract out of the education system but also contribute to it. So that is also what we have understood, the various 5 or 6 stages of the education cycle that we are talking about, right? Then we have also discussed about how a novice turns into a master in a certain specific identified field. So that is also a issue that has been sorted out. So what we need to understand now, and we have understood to a certain extent, is that the foundational education stage is primarily meant for two purposes. The first purpose is exposure of the pupil and the student to the multiple intelligences which exist and correlating it with the possibilities in the career options domain, in the labor market domain that exist. So, and the diverse set of possibilities we are talking about, we are not talking about narrow set of possibility. So that is the first thing. The second is helping students identify what they are interested in, what kind of a career they can pursue, and what kind of intelligence they possess, what kind of a predilection, passion, interest and inclination they have with regards to their intelligence, with regards to their interest, and based on that they can decide on the career choice and career option, and then they can get trained in that kind of a profession whatever they choose to do. So it should be a conscious choice and not a thing that should be thrust upon, or maybe unconscious choice that happened because you are now not left with any other choices. So it should not be like that. It should be a conscious choice made by the pupil or the student themselves. So that is the purpose of the foundational stage, to expose the children to various forms of intelligences and helping them identify what is best suited for their interest, inclination and passion, and based on that they can pursue that career. So that is how. And even with regards to the pedagogy, it is very important to understand that maybe whatever career options they choose to do, a certain kind of pedagogy is required for a certain kind of intelligent people. So a person who is, say for example, musically intelligent will learn through music, so the pedagogical approach also used will be different. So that is also what needs to be understood. So let us move further. So we are talking about these 9 kinds of intelligences. One more intelligence exists. So we are talking in general about 10 kinds of intelligence. We will restrict our discussion to mostly to 7 or 8 kinds of intelligences, and we will exclude intelligences such as naturalistic, existential and moral. As far as our discussion, most of our discussion, we will not focus on these. Naturalistic, we will focus to a certain extent, but existential and moral, we feel that at the foundational stage it is not that much important. So at this stage of the educational cycle, it needs not be discussed to that that much in detail. So coming to the various kinds of intelligences, the spatial intelligence is about visualizing the world in 3D, and it leads to a different kind of a profession, maybe an architect or an engineer kind of a profession. Similarly, a naturalistic, understanding living things and reading nature. So it can help one become a biologist, possibly, and maybe a biologist, evolutionary biologist kind of a scientist. So that is a naturalist for you. Musical is about discerning sounds, their pitch, tone, rhythm, and timbre. So everyone does not get this kind of a quality. So that is another aspect of uh, the intelligence. So some people who have this kind of intelligence will turn out to be an entertainer or a musician. Similarly, someone who is good at quantifying things, making hypotheses and proving them will turn out to be a logical mathematical intelligence, and will turn out to be a scientist or a maybe a pattern seeker kind of a person. So similarly, tackling the question of why we live and why we die, so existential questions, that is not so much relevant at the foundational stage. And similarly, moral questions of moral intelligence, such as what is the right thing to do in certain scenarios and all that. So those are existential questions as well as moral questions, and that need to be addressed by people who are existentially intelligent or morally intelligent. So that is different kind of intelligence, and that is not very much important at the foundational stage. But we can't deny the fact that it is uh, the children are teachers of the adults, and that way even these kind of intelligence are possessed by children in greater degrees than the grown up adults. Interpersonal, that is sensing people's feelings and motives, so that leads to creation of personalities such as human resource personnel or maybe a politician kind of profession. So those kind of professions are more suitable for people who are interpersonally intelligent. Similarly, bodily and kinesthetic intelligent people are able to coordinate body and mind, so they depict their intelligence through their body, and their mind body coordination is very high. So that is another way to depict intelligence, and they become sports persons or dancers or actors sometimes. If they also have the musical intelligence, then they will become actors sometimes. So similarly, linguistic intelligence, finding the right words to express what you mean. So they turn out to be writer or spokesperson, etc. So that is another kind of intelligence. And intrapersonal, understanding yourself, what you feel and what you want. So these kind of people turn out to be poets and help people understand through their own feelings and expressions what his life and how life should be led and all those things. So those details are worked out by these kind of people. So this is the way this whole framework is organized, and we have to understand very clearly that this has to get linked to the professions and to the curriculum and the pedagogy that is adopted at the foundational stage, because the primary objective is exposure of the students and identification of interest, inclination, and passion of the students. So moving to the first intelligence in a little greater detail, the verbal and linguistic intelligence. The people possessing these intelligences turn out to be the writers, the orators, the attorney, etc. People with high verbal linguistic intelligence love words. They prefer to process information through words and language as opposed to or vis-a-vis or versus pictures. They may prefer oral or written methods or excel in both. Additional characteristics of these people include the following: sensitive to the meaning, order, and sound of words, use varied language, they are avid talkers, good speakers, like to explain, convince, persuade through words, enjoy and excel at word games, enjoy listening to, telling and reading stories, enjoy rhymes and poetry, has good memory, recall for names and dates. So these kind of features and characteristics are possessed by people who are verbally and linguistically intelligent, and they turn out to be one of these professions. So when we are talking about the professions, this is not a complete and detailed map of the intelligences vis-a-vis the various professions. It is only a suggestive example of certain professions these kind of intelligent people can pursue and do pursue. So that is what we are talking about till now. Moving further to the logical and mathematical intelligence, the people who possess this kind of intelligence turn out to be scientists and philosophers. People with high logical and mathematical intelligence create order out of chaos by analyzing, grouping, and categorizing. They recognize relationships, they recognize connections and patterns more easily than people with less logical intelligence. Additional characteristic includes ability to handle long chains of reasoning, likes, reason for doing things, possess good inductive as well as deductive reasoning capabilities, quick to learn equivalencies, ask why and how questions, why this happens or how this happens, solves problems rapidly, likes to predict, analyze and theorize, enjoys dealing with abstract ideas and abstractions. So it is not only about concrete ideas or about the empirics, but also about abstract ideas and how the interrelation plays in between those abstract ideas. They are strong at maths and problem solving skills. They are sequential thinkers and not random thinkers. So they think in a stepwise process, and they are logical and sequential thinkers and enjoy board games and games with rules. So these are some of the characteristics of people who are logically and mathematically intelligent, and they turn out to be scientists and philosophers in most cases. Moving further, people with musical intelligence, the entertainer, the musician, and they become entertainers and musicians. People with high musical intelligence learn best through sound, rhythm, music. So when we are talking about that these people are not only good at these kind of professions or these kind of activities or actions, but they also learn through, grasp through or grapple through these ideas in a better manner. And any idea for that matter, they learn through this. This is the primary modality through which they interact with the world and they learn. So these people, so this is not only a question of curriculum but also of pedagogy, and not only a question of pursuing a career but also how and what to learn and when to learn and what aspects to learn. These are all the things that needs to be thought about. So if you talk about the musically intelligent people, they learn better when music is playing through musical metaphors. Additional characteristics of these people include the following: ability to perceive pitch, tone and rhythmic pattern, well delivered auditory sense and discrimination, ability to create, organize rhythmically and compose music. They pick up and create melodies, rhythms easily. They remember songs easily. Ability to sing or play instrument. Sensitive and drawn to sounds. Pauses schemas for hearing music. Constantly humming, tapping or singing. So these are some of the characteristics and core competencies and ways to identify these kind of people who are musically intelligent, and they are more likely to become an entertainer or a musician. Coming to the visual spatially intelligent people, they are more likely to become architects, engineers, sculptors, etc. People with high visual intelligence process information best using pictures, visuals and imagery. They have a sense of direction and an ability to think and plan in three dimensions. Additional characteristics include the following: ability to create complex mental images, active imagination, ability to find their way mentally and physically around environment, ability to see physical world accurately and translate it into new forms, ability to see things in relationship to others, ability to use mind maps, uses imagery and guided visualizations, likes visual support video, pictures, photos, charts and posters. So these are some of the likings of these kind of people. They organize space, objects and areas in a certain manner and enjoy designing and decorating. So they turn out to be designers and decorators of various kinds of environments and living spaces. So that is the kind of intelligence we are talking about when we are talking about visual and spatial intelligence, and these kind of people turn out to be architects, engineers, sculptors, etc. Moving further, the body and kinesthetic intelligence which leads people and men and women to become athletes, dancers, actors, surgeons, even surgeons. So it is very important to notice. So people with high kinesthetic intelligence process information through their bodies, through muscle, sensation and movement. Their bodies are their avenue to learning and understand any content or subject, and is also their preferred form of self-expression. Additional characteristics include the following: a fine-tuned ability to use the body and handle objects, fine and gross motor, ability to express emotions through bodily movement, enjoy physical movement and dance, constant movement, likes to get up and move around, commitment to comfort, uses body to accomplish a task, experiences a strong mind body connection. So these kind of people have a strong mind and body connection, and they are able to foster that connection as well as utilize that connection to depict their intelligence. They expand awareness through the body, experience a total physical response, often good at creative drama, etc. So these are the people with kinesthetic intelligence. So they learn through intelligence, and they learn for intelligence, and they depict intelligence in terms of the bodily behavior and bodily expertise. And then also you need to understand in the kinesthetic intelligence also there are several kinds of intelligences. So a kinesthetic intelligent people, say for example Venus Williams or Serena Williams playing tennis, will be very different from Virat Kohli or a Sachin Tendulkar or a Brian Lara. So you have to understand that kind of a diversity in the bodily or kinesthetic intelligence as well. Coming to the interpersonal intelligence, the counselor, minister, and teacher. People with high interpersonal intelligence process information through relatedness to others. They are people. They are people's people. They are people who love people. They understand people in a much more better way, and they are very empathetic in nature. It is in relationship to and with other people that they best understand themselves and the world. Additional characteristics include ability to notice and discern subtleties among such as moods, temperaments, and feelings, easily make friends and enjoy the company of others, discern underlying intentions, behaviors, and perspectives, ability to get into perspective of another, respond to verbal and non-verbal communication, facial cues, and bodily movement, recognizes and empathizes with others' feelings, ability to negotiate and handle conflict resolutions, work cooperatively in a group, work well with a diverse group of people, good communication skills, and loves to talk and influence. So these are some of the characteristics of the interpersonal intelligent people, and they turn out to be counselors, ministers, teachers, etc., etc. Moving further, intrapersonal intelligent people, the poet and the efficiency expert. People with high intrapersonal intelligence have a strong sense of themselves, their wants, their needs. They are self-reflective and in touch with themselves. They may be non-conformist individuals who march to their own drummer. Additional characteristic. So these are people who know themselves and they are non-conformist. They know what they want, what they need, and they are able to very clearly depict and tell others that what they want. And additional characteristic of these kind of people will include well developed sense of self, awareness and expression of different feelings, self reflection and mindfulness, ability to think about thinking, that is a level of metacognition is found in them, transpersonal sense of self, ask big questions: why are we here, what happens when we die. They are often daydreamers, often write introspectively, including prose, poetry, and journal writing. Excellent self-planners and good at goal setting, enjoy solitude and likes to think alone. Good understanding of strengths and weaknesses, enjoy self-discovery. So these are some of the facets of people who are intrapersonal intelligent, and these intrapersonal intelligent people create documents and poems and poetries which are able to influence and guide other people. जहां न पहुंचे कवि, जहां न पहुंचे रवि वहां पहुंचे कवि. So that kind of a framework they are able to provide to this world. So, talking about the active learning tools, environments, and strategies, one needs to create an active learning environment as well as provide tools, environment, and strategies to the children at the foundational stage to become successful in this kind of a endeavor. So, for verbal and linguistic, what is required? Maybe a library or a book nook, story time, writing center, listening center, planet board station, publishing center, etc. To nurture, these are some of the tools that are required for verbal and linguistic. For logical and mathematical, what you need to create is a math center, science center, take apart center, puzzle center, recycling center, weather station, computer center, that is logical thinking, sequential software, etc. Cooking center. For musical intelligence, you need to create a music center, instrument center, singing circle, listening center, background music, nature sounds, etc. For visual spatial, you need to create art center, example sculpting, Dao, college painting, drawing, etc., collage, painting, drawing, etc., manipulatives, example 3D manipulatives, visual puzzles, blog center, media center, example videos, slide, photos, chart, computer center, example visual design and layout software. For kinesthetic, you need to create gross motor center, example open space for creative movement, climbing structures, mini trampoline, dance circle, woodworking center, manipulative center, take apart center, imaginative play center. Playground and outdoor activities are going to play a very important role in this regard. Tactile learning center, example sandpaper letters, sample texture and cloth, etc. For interpersonal, puppet theater, dramatic play center, sharing social area, group discussion area, small group area, cooking center, etc. play a very important role. Similarly, for intrapersonal, lofts, one person centers and stations, life skills and self-help centers, computer center, etc. with the self-paced software, etc. help in this regard. For a naturalistic, intelligent people, and for nurturing and for exposure to naturalistic intelligence, what is important is you immerse the children in the nature, and they are able to, you take them to field trips to various kind of natural environment, maybe a seaside or a beach, maybe to a mountain, maybe to a forest, maybe to a grassland, maybe to a desert, and different kind of flora and fauna they are able to explore, understand and experience. So that is how the naturalistic intelligence can be nurtured and grown. Similarly, existential and moral is more about the practice of yoga as well as interpersonal experiences. Based on that, that can be nurtured, but it is more at a later stage, but it cannot be denied that even at the foundational stage it can play a very important role. So coming to this whole idea of the verbal and linguistic activities, what can be done with regards to verbal and linguistic activities are reading, improving vocabulary, emergent creative writing, writing and reading report and essays, talking and giving dictation, giving and listening to verbal instruction, oral and written, lecturing or impromptu speaking, storytelling, dialogue and discussion, debate, publishing, telling joke, listening to tapes, doing crossword puzzles, keeping a diary or journal. Similarly, for logical and mathematical activities, sorting and classifying objects or ideas, taking apart or fixing things, solving math problems, solving mysteries, riddles, puzzles and word problems, exploring, outlining, grouping and calculating activities, creating timelines and sequences, comparing and contrasting experiences that demonstrate change over time, example the before and after, using symbols and formulas, playing patterns games, Socratic questioning, especially open-ended and what-if questions. Musical activities can be listening to background, instrumental or environmental music, unison recall activities, giving or listening to musical performances, singing, clapping and slapping, memory games, rhythm, chants and rap, setting new ideas to familiar tunes, using musical instruments, composing music. Similarly, the body and kinesthetic activities can be role play, drama, playing sports, playing physical games such as Pictionary or charades, dancing, miming, using physical gesture, physical exercise, hands-on activities, changing seats and moving to different learning stations slash centers, creating new room rearrangements, standing or moving while listening, learning a topic or idea with a physical gesture associated, taking things apart and tinkering, finger writing on palms or back. The visual and spatial activities can be using guided imagery, playing with patterns and designs, mind mapping, taking pictures and photos, drawing, painting, sculpting, watching and making videos, creating charts and graphs, using color cues and organizers, circle, line dancing, changing teaching locations, rearranging the room to suit the needs of the subject or project, giving or talking, taking visual and spatial instruction, interpersonal activities, cooperative learning, working with a partner, group projects and games, creative drama, role play, simulation, practicing empathy, win-win competition, peer teaching, and buddy systems, subject drill with partners, quizzing each other, discussion, getting and giving feedback. Intrapersonal activities can be again guided imagery, thinking about how to solve a task or a problem, meditation, journal writing, self-assessment, personal context and goal setting, silent reflection and review, time for recall or thinking about what has been learned, emotional processing, focusing, concentration, higher order, reasoning tasks, time to be alone, providing choices. So if you think about the whole process of these learning tools and strategies and the actions that needs to be taken, one thing that is important to understand that there needs to be a diversity in the whole gamut of things. So diversity of curricula is very important. The pedagogy also needs to be that of action oriented pedagogy, and a lot of repeatedness is required, because repetition will only determine whether the things are getting inculcated by children or not. Apart from that, what needs to be thought of very importantly is that it needs to be recorded, and the teacher leader needs to prepare a journal of each and every student as to how he is progressing on different kinds of intelligences. So that is what needs to be done. Before we move further, we need to understand that there is no one assessment tool or scale that exists to identify that what kind of intelligence is possessed by children. So there is no one tool available, but through you as teacher leaders, these tools can be evolved, and through you as practitioners and action researchers and reflective practitioners, these tools can be evolved over a period of time, and if it is evolved in that way, it will be more grounded rather than in the air. So if some educational researcher designs it, it is more in the air, but if teacher, it is designed in consultation with the teacher leaders who are teaching the students, pupils of the 3 to 8 years old in real time, then it is more a grounded approach to this kind of a framework. And if that is evolved, then the whole process and the whole idea of the objective of nurturing takes place at a later stage, and before that the agenda for exposing the children as well as identifying the what kind of intelligence is possessed by the children will be achieved. So this is what uh, needs to be understood by foundational education leaders, that foundational education is all about exposure to multiple intelligence and identification of one dominant intelligence. With this, I want to say thank you to all. In the next lecture, what we will be discussing it is about the foundational education strategy for identifying and nurturing specific intelligences. Thank you. Looking forward to see you after in the next lecture. Thank you.